What's up, Runaways? Tonight we witnessed an alien birth. We had an epic action-packed showdown and the epic arrival of the mysterious Morgan le Fay. Stick around on the Runaways After Show on AfterBuzz TV.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, with the buzz.
We're back, my Runaways. I am super excited. Oh my gosh, we're covering this episode. Binge shows. You know, they're both good and bad. It's just a lot of information, but I'm so happy that I have my fellow Runaways with me. What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Ollie Drennan. We're here for Runaways, and I'm joined by my amazing panel of super Marvel fans. To my left, we're here with Mina Naidine.
Hey, everyone.
How are you, Mina?
Marvelous.
Yes! The Marvelous Mina, that's your hero name. And next to her, we have Lauren B., another Marvel super fan. How are you, Lauren?
I'm good.
Yes, and you are the luxurious Lauren.
Ooh,
there you
yes.
go. There you go. I love it.
I love it.
And I'm just the obnoxious Ollie. But we're here for season 3 of Runaways, episode 4, Rite of Thunder. If you're tuning in live, we do have a live chat. Thank you so much for that. And if you're not, that's totally fine. If you're listening to us later or watching us, we have a comment section. We also have Twitters and Instagrams that we'll shout out later. We just love talking about the show and connecting with it because, guys, this is the last season of Runaways. We're only on season 3. It's just very unfortunate, very bittersweet, but we have to get to our initial thoughts of episode 4 because this one was a doozy. It's definitely something that an episode we've been waiting for sure. This was the essential theme of Runaways. So what did you guys think of everything that went down? Because it was good.
I would have to say Alex really impressed me in this week's episode. Yesterday I was talking about how he doesn't really stand out to me that much. Mm-hmm. And ever since he's become the character that's been inhabiting, Alex's body and he's really the alien, I feel like we've seen such an incredible performance from him and it's been very captivating, very interesting. I really like this episode. It was very suspenseful, very intense. I love the chase sequences. It was really fun.
Yes, definitely. Lauren, what did you think of this episode?
This episode was epic. I loved it so much. Of course, there was a lot packed into this episode. Alex definitely had me fooled.
Oh, man.
We were all sitting there yesterday talking about ifs and maybes, and now we have a definite answer.
Right.
So that was amazing to watch. The baby is here. Mm-hmm. That's a whole lot to take in. And we wanted more fight scenes, and we got them.
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely enjoyed Alex, kind of a new playing field for the character or the actor that portrays him, Renzi, who's been killing it as Alex, but just seeing, quote unquote, not Alex, kind of be this really evil character and just a new persona. And it was so refreshing because we haven't seen a whole lot of Alex. I feel like Alex is the leader of the Runaways, but he's definitely someone who's been kind of like in the background. I mean, we're so used to Carolina and Nico and Molly, but it's so cool to get Renzi to be able to play Alex or not Alex in this new form to really just kind of steal the show, because I think he really stealed the show in this episode, this particular episode.
He took the front seat all the way.
Mm-hmm. It's that mole theory. It's that mole theory from the comics, and he is definitely... I just love this new rendition of it, for sure. So why don't we get into our first topic, because you already brought it up, Lauren, the birth. Because the birth was... This was probably the most suspense. I know there was a fight scene, but this was definitely the most suspenseful moment for me because, first of all, Leslie was pregnant, at the beginning of the episode. She's very vulnerable. We don't know what exactly is inside of her glowing belly. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the alien son, he's supposed to be the most evil character of the family, and he has her hostage unbeknownst to her until it's too late. But he takes her to Tamar's house, and stuff went down. For sure. And Tamar's kind of the one who's been at odds with the Wilders for years, especially with Catherine. I'm sure Tamar's super happy that Catherine is dead. We're not. But
she seems shocked, definitely, when she's watching it on the news.
But I'm sure she inside she was like, yes, finally.
And then she sees Alex at her front door.
But let me ask you guys that while we're on the topic of that. Do you think that... do you think it was right for Tamar to kind of... Because I feel like Tamar had connections to Catherine's death, for sure. Mm-hmm. Do you think it was right for Tamar to kind of... Do you think it was right for Tamar to kind of kill Catherine in a sense? Or do you think it would have been more justified if Catherine was kind of left to rot in prison? So what were your thoughts on that?
I don't think Tamar actually gave directions for Catherine to be killed. I think it seems that way, but I think everyone just has this dying loyalty to her and carried out those plans knowing what happened to her. Right. I don't think she actually told anyone, hey, this is what I need you to do. Because we even had a scene earlier on with her and Alex's dad where Tamar said, her being in prison, like, that doesn't even come close to any sort of justice for her. So that just made me think, well, her dying isn't justice either, because the amount of, like, torture she went through losing her husband while she's pregnant was such a crazy experience for her that I feel like Catherine being dead, it doesn't even satisfy any sort of justice in her eyes.
Right.
So that's why I think she never gave the green light for Catherine.
I can see that.
Yeah. I like that. I like that you bring that up because that's a new perspective that I didn't really perceive at first. So I actually really like that now that you bring that up, because it makes me like Tamar more, for sure. It's like, okay. And she did actually help the whole birthing process of Leslie and the new child. She said, she wasn't happy that Alex was there. She was very shocked and thrown off. But until Alex really revealed his true intentions and kind of got her, he kind of like almost choked her until the Runaways came in. So what were your kind of thoughts on this whole dynamic and how Alex was kind of against his friends in this point? Because it was just a lot of tension filled, and the whole chase scene was kind of juxtapositioned with the whole birthing of the new baby, because it was just a lot to process. So what did you guys think of this whole major kind of point in this episode?
I thought it was really interesting, and the stakes were super high, and all I can think of is I can compare it to this movie called Children of Men, where, there's no babies being born, and then there's finally one baby, and they have to, like, make sure the baby doesn't make noise because it's a huge deal. They're trying to get it from point A to point B, and the stakes are super high. And I kept thinking of that movie when I watched this because, they really, like, everyone had a vested interest in this baby in this episode. So it wasn't just Alex who had a vested interest. It was Alex. It was the fellow aliens. It was, Leslie. It was Zavin. It was the Runaways. Everybody had a vested interest in protecting this baby. And, obviously Leslie wasn't a prime focus. It was more, it doesn't matter what happens to Leslie as long as the baby is okay. So it was really interesting to see how things were going to play out and what side would win, because at the end of the day, like, we just want the baby to be okay.
Right.
We want the baby to be in the right hands. So watching that was really fun. It was interesting to see this really diabolical side of Alex, where he even strangles the donut shop owner.
Right.
I think it really...
I'm like, come on, he's just trying to give you the 10 horchata donuts, which
I think
so nice.
It definitely helped paint, like, a different picture of this character as, this is someone not to be messed with. This is a very sinister side of Alex we haven't seen yet, because he is being possessed by this demon.
Right. Lauren, what did you think of the scene? Because talking about Alex being diabolical, or the son, I don't really know what to call it. Not Alex. Especially when the chase scene with Carolina and Nico trying to get after Alex. And first of all, Carolina, why aren't you flying? We know you can fly. But what did you think of the conversation between Nico and Alex? Because not Alex was kind of being a total jerk to Nico, especially kind of using Carolina against her. So
yeah, that was
evil.
Horrible. It was absolutely horrible to watch, because I was like, man, just hit her in the gut while she was down. And it was very manipulative of him, and sitting there and watching it, it was just like, Alex is completely gone. Is he even still in his body anymore? You know how a lot of the aliens were getting rid of their hosts. It made me sit there and wonder, is Alex still alive? Because our Alex that we love so much, would he have ever done this to Nico? Like, never. We would have never expected this. So that made that scene very powerful to watch. And it just amplified the love that Nico has. And it made us sit there and go, man, she really will do anything for her loved one at the end of the day. So that was a lot to take in, and a little sad to watch, because here we want to save Alex, but we can't save him. And then at the same time, we want to kind of like get justice for everything that's happening and hold the alien accountable. But at the end of the day, her hands are tied, and there's nothing that she can do without possibly giving up her own body as a host, or completely just having Carolina in a, like, really awkward position where she could die.
Right. And he even brought up the point that why don't I just take over your body at some like so it made me think, okay, so this is a super manipulative alien that can actually jump from host to host if he wanted to.
Right.
But it just is the fact that he is in Alex's body, and I feel like that's such a great body to be in because he was the leader and he has all these connections. He probably knows everyone
and
the best.
Least suspected too.
Right. And he has everything against Nico. He knows her. He has history. He has Alex's memories and kind of like their history, so he can use all of that against her, and he did that. And of course, Nico has that still bond with Alex. She doesn't want to shoot him. Tamar gave him the gun, and she still chose not to shoot him in the process of potentially killing Alex if he's still there.
I was so surprised by that because I thought for sure that what would happen was that Nico or one of the characters who had a strong connection to Alex would use some sort of emotional memory to get the real Alex out of there and to do that extraction technique of figuring out, okay, is this the alien or is this Alex speaking? And I was so surprised. Like, we know that Alex has really strong feelings for Nico. I was so surprised she couldn't tap into that and bring him back in a sense.
No, that's a good point. But I also think that possibly he feels betrayed by her ever since, the whole love triangle with Carolina. So maybe he still has some kind of, not grudge, but kind of hard feelings about that. But yeah, that's a good point. But I also think that maybe because this alien is so evil, maybe that's why it's so hard to get through that emotional response. Possibly. Right. That's just my theory. But also, Alex does get away, but the baby's born. I'm like, the baby's born. But luckily, the baby's born. Yay! Safely. Thank you, Tamar, for housing, this fun little birthing party. She directed Zavin. She's like, Zavin, Molly, go get the towels. We're going to birth this baby. And the baby's birthed safely.
She didn't have to use Google.
No. And Zavin, oh my gosh, I loved Zavin in this episode. Zavin was this is the first time we really saw true emotion from Zavin. First of all, this whole prophecy with Zavin of wanting to take Carolina back as her betrothed, she's been saying, in order to, not for herself. Zavin wants this prophecy to be fulfilled for her people. So she's not really necessarily doing this for herself, to save herself, her love, to have that perfect insta love life, whatever. She's doing this to save her people back home. But come to find out, the prophecy that Leslie's father is coming true. And so Zavin just lit up when she saw the baby. So what did you think of Zavin in this episode? Kind of like showing that emotional response for the first time and kind of like possibly fulfilling her destiny.
It was so refreshing to see because I feel like any prior experience we, the audience, have had of Zavin showing emotion has been very forced. She, kind of, bit down on her teeth to try to force a smile, like this. Or, she's like, oh, so is this the part where we put our arms around each other and then embrace? So she's never really known how to express emotion. And the fact that she didn't even have to try to express emotion in this scene, it just came so effortlessly, really showed us the power of love. And how even when you explain love, you won't fully understand love until you experience it. You can talk about it, you can conceptualize it, but nothing is as strong as feeling it for yourself firsthand. And I thought it was so beautiful that we had that whole explanation from Molly on what love was and her explaining love to Zavin. Zavin not fully understanding it, but trying to grasp it. And then finally there being this, very gratifying moment where she holds the baby in her arms and then you realize there's so many different types of love. There's not just romantic love, but there's this unconditional love that you can feel for a child. And that's exactly what Zavin feels, and I thought it was such a beautiful moment.
Absolutely. Any more thoughts,
My
Lauren?
favorite moment from Zavin during this was the tear.
When
she finally, that was the most organic emotion that I had seen from her this entire episode. And at the end of the day, this was something that was just like, we relate to you. We understand. And she seriously had this moment, what if I don't fulfill my purpose, my prophecy, everything that I came here for? This is heartbreaking. And that was just a moment where I was like, oh my God, there's no way that this character could ever be evil or have ill intent, right? Because there was a couple of times that I thought maybe Zavin might have some ill intent, right? Maybe there's a backstory that we're not fully aware of and it hasn't been discovered, and that they might twist the plot and Zavin might be a part of some of the negative things that are happening. But in that moment, I was like, nope, never. Zavin is like my favorite person. She's the Shiro. She's got it going on. And at the end of the day, she's going to protect this baby with her life, as she said.
Yeah. Her eyes were leaking. So that's how you...
Her eyes were leaking.
Yeah.
Because her prophecy was to, well, more on that, because we have to kind of talk about it, like how Zavin eventually made her prophecy fulfill. But before that, I just want to thank you guys for letting us be the ESPN of TV Talk. Really appreciate you guys talking with us week after week on our multiple after shows. So what you could do for us, it would mean so much for us. For the Runaways after show, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes because the other ones don't work. We really appreciate that. Continue liking and subscribing and sharing with your friends and family all over social media, our multiple after shows. Subscribe, like I said. I can't like ask you guys so much because you really are making us the ESPN of TV Talk, and we thank you guys so much. We love this show. It's so sad that this is the final season. But you also tune into live chat. Are you guys in the live chat?
Yeah, we're actually in the live chat.
I want to shout out some of our friends and family from around the globe of Runaways.
Brandon Bowie's in the chat. He talks about how Zavin is his favorite character on the show. And also Nicholas Kelly has been joining us.
Yes.
Renji 90998. Yeah, we've got A. Carter. I think he's named after Aaron Carter. Who knows? Yeah, there's some great people in the chat. Peyton McKenzie, Enchanted Sim. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. We really love this. And, of course, Ivan Soto. He's been a diehard loyal fan from the beginning.
Right. I remember season 1.
Yeah.
And you never forget Ivan, that's for sure. So keep getting us those theories, those thoughts, those comments, those questions. We love your input because you're also a part of this after show just as much as we are. So I already kind of teased that Zavin's kind of departure from the show, or at least for now, is really sad because her prophecy was to kind of take care of the baby. And she went home and she realized, I wrote this quote down, she said, "The great love is the love of a child, whether it is yours or not." And I feel like that struck a chord in with not only me, but also the character Molly, because Molly's adopted by the Yorks. So she broke down, and obviously she had this connection to Zavin, and Zavin realized that her true love, or not her true love, but her, I guess I'll just say true love, her true love might not have been Carolina. It was this baby, because her prophecy was to protect it, and possibly by bringing this baby back to her people, that's going to spark a revolution and save everyone, you know? So what were your thoughts on her possible departure from the show? I don't know if we're going to see her again, but it was just a very, very touching moment. Probably my favorite moment of the episode, her leaving. Any thoughts? Because it was very beautiful. Molly broke down, and everyone was just... Even Carolina was... Everyone was very sad.
Anytime I see Molly break down, I'm just like, I want to give her a hug. She's so adorable. And no, I thought that. I thought it was a beautiful moment. And I feel like, just that link that you're talking about of how Molly could relate to it because she was also adopted. It's like, it goes back to the whole theme about how they're all runaways and they have each other, and there are these very complex dynamics with them and their family members, how, blood isn't necessarily thicker than water. You form these connections and this trust and this loyalty and these strong bonds with people who aren't necessarily your family, and you kind of see, like, the beauty in humanity and how, we can all help each other out and unite for a common goal. It was a beautiful moment. It's like, you don't want to see someone go, but you know that they're doing this for the greater good. And you have to be willing to say bye to people, especially when that cause is greater than yourself. You're living for something greater than yourself at that point. So I thought it was cool.
Yeah, for sure. I was sitting there just wondering, like, okay, how soon is it going to be before we see her again? Yeah. Just because of her language and how she was addressing everything, it seems to me that this child is going to be a key to a major factor that's going to be towards maybe the grand finale of this season. But I don't think that we're done seeing her at all. I know we're not done seeing her because, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, this is actually about the comics, but Nicholas Kelly in the chat says, so wait a minute, is this storyline for Zavin going to end up like the comics, where she has to run back to Earth in fear for her people coming to kill her? And then he says, because the baby would be put on trail for her family's war crimes, and while I fear for Zavin, if it's heading in that direction. So that would be interesting to see if they replicated the comics. I know that they've stuck close to the comics, but in a lot of instances they've also strayed away from it. So I really wonder to see, like,
wonder if it's going to end up similar to that. I just know that because we've like digged in and done our own research, we know that this does end on a cliffhanger, the entire season finale. I have my own thoughts on that, but more on that later once we actually watch that episode. But yeah, I love that you bring up the comics because I do have a very special segment later. Really quickly, trying to bring out like a scene from the comics actually that was kind of replicated on the live action form in this episode, which was Zavin's departure. It was really reminiscent of another scene in the comics, so I really want to shout out that later. But kind of like before this whole thing with Zavin's departure, there was a huge showdown. It was the kids, the Runaways, with their upgraded weapons ready to defeat the aliens versus the alien family. You know, Tina, Victor, even Alex, and also Stacy. So what were your thoughts on kind of like the kids finally getting their action-packed moment? Even Gert without old lace. That was so badass. She had this. She was talking to her mom, Stacy, about taking the self-defense classes. You saw her working the butterfly knife. I was like, oh my gosh! But it was such a gratifying scene because I feel like we've been waiting for this epic showdown for the kids versus their not so much family, their parents. But it was definitely something that we've been waiting for. It was such a great scene. It was directed perfectly. I mean, I know in a lot of huge, big budget action movies, you have one protagonist who's considered the hero and then 10 bad guys, and you see each bad guy running up to to the character like individually and then like wiping out each character as it goes along, and it's super cheesy. What I liked about this was that it was so different than that. It wasn't like each person coming up one by one. Each character had their own nemesis that they had to fight off, and I thought that made it so much more fulfilling to watch, to have you know, Nico battling against, you know, her not mom, and to have Gert battling against Stacy, who's also her not mom, and to have Chase battling against his not father, Jonah. And I think that definitely added another emotional layer to it, where you're literally fighting someone who looks like your parent that you have a strong emotional attachment to, but you realize it's not really your parent. They're being inhabited by an alien. I think it made the stakes that much higher because it added a layer of psychological warfare that would normally not be there, because then you have the moment where it's like Chase is talking to his dad, and his dad is like, oh, I'm still in here somewhere. He's trying to use that to manipulate him. So yeah, this was a very well directed scene. I loved it. And I loved the incorporation of Zavin into this. I kind of predicted that would happen. But I loved seeing Zavin morph into a different person and utilizing that skill to her advantage. It actually paid off.
Right, because the whole reason why Zavin showed up was because they actually kidnapped the baby from Leslie, from Tamar's house. So that was the whole issue. And it worked out perfectly. So thank God the baby got kidnapped, because it worked out for Zavin, taking the baby back home. But also, the whole thing about Alex wanted to actually kind of exchange his position in the family with the baby so he can kind of do his own thing. So what were your thoughts on that? Because that just adds another layer to him. And okay, so he's ready to leave his family. He's ready to leave the nest, this evil.
Well, he has to.
You know, and because they want the baby, you know. But even though Stacy's kind of like, oh, well, this baby's not for me. It's from another woman. So it just is, this whole alien family has different, like, goals and motivations with one another. I feel like they're not on the same level despite them being a family. So what were your thoughts on that whole issue? Because
it's like an episode of Jerry Springer.
I feel like this family doesn't like each other.
They hate each other.
They have their own little alliances within one another.
Everyone has their own agenda. That's like literally what I've been saying from the beginning, is that the reason why there's no progress being made on either side, all the times that there's no progress, it's because everybody has their own agenda, and instead of figuring out what the common goal is and coming together, they're all so worried about fulfilling their own needs instead of working together as a team. So all the times that Pride wasn't on the same page and they were just looking out for their own interests, that's when they had problems. And all the moments that the Runaways were worrying about their own things instead of coming together, that's when they would lose. And now finally we see the Runaways coming together for the common good, for a greater goal, and accomplishing that mission. And you see the power of joining forces when you're on the same page versus when you have a team that's completely disjointed, where there's no foundation of trust, where everyone is looking out for themselves. including Alex, this possessed Alex who wants to stay here on Earth, fulfill his own mission, loves to torture.
Yeah.
He sounds like an evil dictator.
That son's such a snake, too, because he wasn't actually even fighting anyone. He was kind of hiding.
Yeah.
Well, he was with the baby.
Was told, yeah.
Yeah, but still, it was still very shit. I'm like, oh, it's such a little weasel. But what were your thoughts on kind of like Lauren, Nico, finally hearing the voice of Morgan? They were kind of back against the wall with the aliens. They finally did do their own thing, Mina, but even though it's like they still don't like each other. They did the light thing. The Runaways were in trouble, but Nico heard the voice of Morgan.
And rose up.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on her kind of banishing the aliens along with their parents in the process just by hearing Morgan?
Well, we kind of talked about this with our last episode. We were talking about how Morgan might have to, be that push that Nico needs to unlock the next level of her powers and her skill set. So we got a chance to finally see it, and this became this really real fine line trickery moment of Nico thinking that she's going to be able to use her powers to just end everything, which she kind of did.
Right? Kind of.
Yeah.
For
and
now.
then open the can of worms.
Oh, more on that at 11. No.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I really like this moment because this now was a moment for Nico to have more of that positive moment with her powers, because the previous episodes we've been seeing this demonic or evil possession of and really weird off-kilter usage of her powers, right?
That's not balanced.
It's not balanced at all, and her trying to figure out how to understand her new levels that she's discovering, right? And whether it's good or whether it's bad. So in this very moment, we finally see it used for what we would consider good in this moment. So that was really beautiful to see, and to actually see her get to the point where I always think Nico is the kick butt one out of everyone. Right. We did see Gert have her moment in this episode.
She did.
But Nico is the one that's more of the protector. She's the strength of the group, right? So this was really epic to watch her take the power and protect everyone. You even see her have that moment where she looks around and she's like, oh no, I can't let my friends, my family go out like this.
Yeah.
I have to stand up for something. I have to do this. And
definitely
she lets them
because I think she's kind of becoming the new leader without Alex. And unless he comes back, in Alex form, Alex Wilder form, true Alex, but she definitely is stood up to the plate as everyone else kind of follows her and looks to her as guidance.
And I do have a fun fact for you guys. So remember when she's finally harnessing her powers and then Morgan le Fay whispers tenebrae to her?
Yes.
So tenebrae is actually a Latin word that translates to darkness, which I thought was super interesting. And here, when I did a Google search, it says in the Roman Catholic Church, it basically represents the 3 days of Holy Week at which candles are successively extinguished. And several composers have set parts of the office to music. So it is rooted in some sort of Catholicism.
Interesting.
And at the same time, the literal translation for it is darkness. And we have Morgan le Fay, or the actress who plays Morgan le Fay, Elizabeth Hurley, talks a lot in interviews about the dark dimension and the dark dimension being something that's really important. So I love that there was this incorporation of Latin. It really reminded me of the Harry Potter series where every single spell is in Latin and it literally translates to what the spell does. So in this instance, she uses darkness to completely annihilate the aliens, and I have no idea where they are now.
Well, let's get those predictions going. But before predictions,
your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Before predictions, guys, I'm so sorry. We have news, right? Do we have news?
I believe we have news.
Yes, but I have the news. Okay, good. So sorry. We are a live show, everyone. But I do have some news because, like I said, I can't say this enough. The season 3 is wrapped, but I did want to shout out an article from The Wrap with Stephanie and Josh, the showrunners of the show. They had a brief little interview and kind of talked about how the show kind of it being canceled was kind of out of their hands, unfortunately, due to Kevin Feige kind of taking over the creative roles within, you know, the Marvel Universe, the MCU. Good for him. I love you, Kevin. You're amazing. But also, I love Runaways, and I'm so sad. But Josh had this to say in the interview. He said, "I think it was just a realistic assessment of when it felt like the show might be wrapping. Sometimes things just are out of your control." And he said, "A lot of times when you're making a TV series, continuing is not always up to you. And we just wanted to make sure that if it was going to play out that way, that we were just prepared to have an ending that would be very satisfying." So there's this talk of this possibly being a cliffhanger. I don't know. So that's just something to kind of think about. It's really unfortunate. I mean, I feel like people should just kind of get a hashtag going of Save Runaways, renew for season 4. But that's just my opinion. Tweet Kevin Feige. We want Runaways season 4. Just saying. But I don't know. Let's just see how the rest of this season wraps up, you know, for our own eyes. I'm just really interested in it. But now, why don't we get to predictions?
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Because another scene happened in this episode with Morgan le Fay kind of finally showing herself. She was in the hospital, right? She came in. Robert's still alive, apparently. I thought he was dead. Homeboy was goner in episode 3. I thought he was dead. I was wrong.
Hopefully this is still Robert. We don't know.
So she shows up into the hospital. She kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, she awakens him or resurrects him, whatever. I think he was kind of just unconscious or maybe in a coma or something. He was in critical stasis. And she says something along the lines of like, "I need you," or "Are you ready?" And so clearly she's going to use him in some shape or form. Or what are your guys' thoughts of that particular scene and what's to come with Morgan kind of utilizing Nico's father, Robert? And what do you think is going to happen from here on out?
It doesn't seem like he's on the same page. It almost seems like he's an accessory to whatever she wants. So I wonder if they're going to be creating different factions, and now it's not just the aliens, it's the aliens, then Morgan le Fay, then the Runaways, and all these like different divisions. Because like I said, there has been a lot of disjointedness throughout the series, and we also have other characters where I feel like because there are these different factions, because Nico now has a mentor who is Morgan le Fay, I feel like there is going to be a point in time in this series that Nico's going to have to choose, am I going to stay with Carolina or am I going to go with Morgan le Fay? And there's going to be a lot of, you know, a lot of high stakes, a lot of high pressure situations where the Runaways are going to become even more disjointed because we've already lost Alex. We don't have Zavin anymore. We do have Molly, Gert, Chase, but we don't, like, pretty much all of Pride is annihilated, if you think about it, because the alien members are gone, and now,
we know,
Janet's gone, Catherine's dead, we have Jeffrey.
Who's AWOL.
That's, I mean, well, that's really all we have. And
Dale,
then
where the heck is Dale?
Leslie is a huge target, so I just feel like at this point it's going to be a lot of disjointedness, different factions, and I feel like the rest of the series are going to be different alliances forming and people deciding who am I sticking with and who am I leaving behind, and I think that will forever alter the course of the Runaways.
I love that. Lauren, what do you think?
This gets to be very, very tricky because we obviously know she has her own agenda, but when it comes down to Nico's dad, it's just like, what do you really need Nico to do that you need to somehow manipulate a family member to get to this soft spot? We saw earlier in the episode that Morgan was able to reach out and touch Nico and kind of like instill her power before she realized how to use it at the big grand finale with the fight.
Right.
And now we're seeing that she can now physically be in the world.
Right.
That's a huge thing. So she's free of wherever she was trapped. And now
Your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
Now we're dealing with the fact that she's not only going to manipulate Nico, but she's going to manipulate her dad.
Yeah.
So my prediction is that all of this is going to go to hell in a handbasket.
Oh my gosh.
That was my bad in the booth. Love the predictions though. Go Runaways.
Yes.
Hit that like button in the live chat.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Steph. You're an amazing producer. We love you so much. Thank you for being incredible in the booth. We love you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I love your guys' predictions. They're so freaking good. I'm terrified. I feel like Nico's might have to be forced to do something she doesn't want to due to Morgan's manipulation of her father. I'm going to say this now. I have not seen any other episodes, but I think Nico might end up having to kill one of her parents.
I second that. I was just
because of,
thinking it.
and it's not because she wants to. It's because they're being controlled.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't even know if the aliens are coming back. I honestly don't know. Where the heck are the aliens? But I don't know. You guys need to let us
That's interesting. Yeah, because Nicholas Kelly says Morgan seems to use Robert as a way to get to Tina because I see Nico possibly splintering from her at some point and she needs some sort of leverage.
Right.
And what better way to get Nico than through her lovable father?
Right.
Because we all know Tina is not going to have it.
Right. It's interesting because she did manipulate, if you guys remember the picture with
Correct.
and that was all fake, apparently. That was all an illusion that she made in episode 3. So it's just so much to think about. Let us know what you guys think is going to happen, your thoughts, your theories, anything we might have missed in this episode. We want to keep talking and keep the discussion going. But unfortunately, we do have to wrap up episode 4. It was such a pleasure talking with you guys. You guys are my favorite panel ever, really. I love Runaways so much. But where can I find Lauren, you, and Mina? But Lauren first.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lauren B. Mosley. That's Mosley. And you can catch me on Wednesdays with Vikings.
Yes.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Naidine, and you can catch me on Instagram and Twitter at Mina Makes Magic, where I will be doing movie reviews, astrology readings, all sorts of fun stuff. Make sure to keep up with me there.
Yes, of course. You better keep up with all of us. And also Shay Jones. She's not here, unfortunately, but we still love her. She's still our runaway. Go show her some love at Real Shay Jones. And I'm your host, Ollie Drennan. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ollie Dreamer. And we're going to be back tonight for episode 5 of Runaways at 9 p.m. LA time. So we'll see you then. Bye, guys. We love you.
Bye.
Nuestros fundadores Kevin Undergaro y María Menunos quieren agradecerles por estar aquí en AfterBuzz TV. Recuerden que no solo somos los primeros en ser los más grandes del mundo y el único destino para todos sus programas de televisión favoritos. Así, vayan a AfterBuzzTV.com para ver nuestra lista.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.